Hello everybody, IR Worm here. I got lucky and I captured 2 capital ships at one go. Welcome to the advanced capital ship boarding tutorial. The first tutorial I did was just about the basics to try to get you started. Now we're going to try to solve some of the headaches that are just going to happen when you try to do boarding in X4 foundations. It's a little bit of a unfinished process, I think. There's some bugs and there's some frustration with the UI. I still don't know what the update operation button does. The ships I'm boarding here are a Selene Sentinel and later, I can't pronounce it, I think it's a Chthonian gas miner. You have to use that guttural paranid pronunciation. My favorite ship to fly, and the one I'm flying in this video, is a Nemesis Vanguard, and I've modded it so that it can go faster than 600 meters per second. The guns I'm using here are bolt repeaters and plasma cannons. That's a good combo because the plasma cannons will overheat pretty quickly, but they do a lot of hull damage to stationary targets. And the bolt repeaters are good because they don't overheat very often. You can also use ion blasters, which focus on doing damage to shields. Now you'll notice after I scanned the ship, you can see the number of crew members and whether it has cargo in the heads-up display at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. You can also look at the map and get a very detailed description of each of their defenses. The most important bits of the detailed scan information are ammunition, deployables, and crew. You can also see whether the turrets are still functioning or not. Burst weapon output 0 means that turret's not functioning. Let's talk boarding menu. The ship's assigned corner sometimes is one line for your whole squad, like Nemesis plus 6 ships. Here we can see that it lists each individual ship and the number of Marines they have on it. I don't know why it's different this time. Then there's ship behavior just below that. That's where a drag down menu. It says target engines or target turret or even maintain distance. I find maintain distance will prevent some ships from dropping their Marines. They're too distant. Then select Marines with the sliders to push as many Marines as you possibly can into the enemy ship. The bottom right hand corner says Stage 3 Assault. It also will tell you how many Marines you can put into the ship. In this case, 33. Other ships like builders and destroyers are really huge ships, so you can squeeze a lot more Marines in them. Here's a pro tip from YouTuber Halsey Lion. One of his videos showed him boarding a ship, but he didn't destroy the engines all the way. And he showed that you don't have to. You could just shoot them down to about 20% hull and they stop working. It is a risk that they might be repaired more easily and quickly, but if you want to keep the engines, it's possible. You have to babysit them though. In my basics video I mentioned constrictor missiles from X Rebirth and EMP missiles. Well, it turns out they're the same thing. EMP missile is the new constrictor missile. EMP missiles will knock out a ship's booster so they can't boost away or use travel mode. Here's another random tip. Just a little while ago you saw me clear the area. I had a Xenon come in out of nowhere and I didn't want him messing up my boarding experience, so I had to go take him out. But I got lost in the process and I wasn't quite sure how to get back to that big ship. It was far enough away that I couldn't see it. What you do is you get to the map, you give yourself a waypoint by right-clicking and clicking on Start Guidance to Position. And then you'll be back in no time. Among the things that can go wrong with boarding, the main thing is the target ship can be destroyed. Most of the time this happens from sector security. The target ship itself can destroy itself by dropping laser towers. The laser towers will take out the ship by trying to shoot through the ship before you can take out any of the laser towers. Otherwise, it can actually be the Marines themselves, I think, that do damage to the ship. But the main problem is if you have a squad, keeping them from destroying the ship. It's going to take some micromanagement to keep your squad from destroying it. Tactical pause can help you with all that micromanagement. The UI as it is pretty good, but it's pretty frustrating when it comes to issuing commands to your squadrons. The squadrons get confused as it is, and the AI is something you have to struggle against sometimes in version 2.2. Now, the pause can help fix some of these things. If you don't consider it cheating, if you consider it a tactical pause, You can issue commands to your squadron. You can also delete commands to your squadron. You can cycle through subsystems on the surface of your boarding target to help you find that turret that you're trying to take out, and then resume play. Tactical pause is also good for changing weapons. You can change the turret's functions to attack missiles. You can change your missiles to make sure you have the right kind. Right here I've already spent all the good ones, and now I'm shooting light cluster missiles, which do absolutely nothing to the turrets. Now let's talk disabling the target. This is what I like to do before I start all the boarding operation to make sure I get all of my Marines on board. I call it turret jousting because you can see me doing flybys back and forth, and I'm even flying backwards as I'm going, strafing and using the flight assist to disabled so that I continue to fly in the same direction as my last burst of speed. This is especially useful when avoiding missiles. Sure, your turrets can take out some of the missiles, but a lot of the time they won't. All you need to do to avoid the missile is to hit your booster for a few seconds and the flight assist disabled button. Then you'll scoot on right past the missile. And you may not need to go quite as fast as I'm going through here. I've found if I'm going on 100 to 150 meters per second, that's fast enough to still shoot straight and be able to dodge the missile. After you take out all of the missile turrets, especially the tracking turrets, then the boarding operation gets a lot easier. The only thing you'll have to worry about is if it has any drones, or especially the laser towers. Take out laser towers as soon as you can because they really add up. And if you see 5 or 6 laser towers in one spot, you could be in some big trouble. The easy way to take out laser towers is to catch them as soon as they're deployed. You can actually hover around the back of the ship where they come out and shoot the laser towers directly before they even get a chance to start shooting. Once the target ship becomes yours, you'll find out how many Marines you have left, and you're going to need to get those Marines back off of the ship and back onto your squadron's ships so that you can use them again. Now you have veterans, maybe even. The ranks of your Marines will go up as they get more and more experience, so you're going to want to keep the same Marines if you can. The problem is you have to communicate with each and every single Marine individually. You do that by going into the ship information and clicking on crew, and then clicking on full crew list, and then clicking on Marines, and then clicking on recruit or veteran individually to each individual Marine, and right click on him, press COM, and tell him to move to the ship you want it to be back onto, like your transport ship. You have to dock both ships in order to do this. Here you see me docking my Magpie onto the Selene Sentinel that I had captured, and I'm filling it up with the veterans so that I can bring the Magpie in and use it to attack this next ship that I've disabled. Now I'm sure this is going to change in a future update because it's very inconvenient as it is to transfer Marines or any crew. Some words of advice about bugs. If you save the game during the boarding operation and load it up, you might automatically just fail seconds into loading it. That seems to be a bug. But if you save it before the boarding operation starts, there's no chance of that bug happening. Sometimes the ships in your squadron won't release their Marines. I don't know what to do about that, except to check the individual ship's order queue and delete everything standing in front of the order to board. One particularly nasty looking bug, which is actually pretty harmless, is that on the boarding menu at the start, before you click start operation, your number of Marines that you're loading up and their attack strength will all read correctly. But sometime later in the boarding operation, I think it's after stage 1, then your number of Marines will turn to 0 and your attack strength is 0, even though all the Marines are still there doing their job. Well, those are my tips for boarding. I have one more topic to cover, and that's to recommend the best ships for boarding. First and foremost, you're going to need a transporter for those Marines, especially one that's agile and quick. This one is the Hermes Vanguard. It can hold up to 21 crew members. That means 20 Marines and a captain. Usually I haven't had any problems with defending it, and it survives. As long as you've cleared the area and there's no laser towers blasting away at it, you'll be fine. The only thing I would recommend is to get it out of there as soon as it drops off its Marines. The Gorgon Vanguard can have a crew of 16 Marines and 1 captain. It's quite fast, quite agile, and it can hit hard. It can actually participate in the fight. It could even make a good flagship to lead the charge in. Another good frigate for boarding, although not as big or as fast as the Gorgon, is the Osprey. The Osprey Vanguard has a crew of 13, and it's got a lot more armor, of course, and it has a big cargo space, so you can salvage that dropped cargo. Alpha Poo commented on my basics video that the Magpie Vanguard makes an excellent transport among the small ships. It's cheap, it's small, it's fast, and it holds 8 crew members, which is 7 Marines. And as you saw, it's good for actually docking onto the ships that you capture if you want to transfer crew immediately. As for fighters, you can't go wrong with most of the fighters out there. I really like the Pulsar though, because you can get so many guns on one ship. It is a bit of a glass cannon. I lose a lot of them. Just remember, the main reason you have fighters with you is to take out things that are flying around the target ship, because you're not going to want your fighters to attack the target ship after it's been disabled. Anyways, hey, my Magpie Sentinel is still sitting there with all his Marines. Well, boarding complete anyway. Sweet. Well, I hope some of this helped you. Don't forget to have fun.